Have you ever found yourself pausing, maybe just for a moment, to truly question why we make the financial choices we do? Sometimes it feels like we're acting against our own best interest, doesn't it? You see the headlines: a tech mogul, brilliant by all accounts, loses billions in a single devastating day. Or perhaps you've heard the incredible, almost unbelievable story of someone like Björgolfur Gudmundsson. He was once a billionaire, the owner of West Ham United Football Club, a towering figure in Icelandic banking. But after the 2008 financial crisis, his bank, Landsbanki, spectacularly collapsed, leading to his personal bankruptcy. From a Forbes estimated net worth of $1.1 billion, he went to absolutely nothing. Our gut reaction to stories like these is almost universally, how could they be so crazy? But what if I told you the truth is far more nuanced, more complex, and ultimately a lot less about crazy and much more about something profoundly human?
It's absolutely true. That immediate reaction, that reflexive urge to label a catastrophic financial decision as crazy, often stems from our own limited perspective, our own unique frame of reference. What we're going to really unpack and explore today is the powerful idea that in the intricate world of finance, no one is truly operating from a place of irrational madness. Instead, every single individual, from the multi-billionaire to the person just starting out, operates from a distinct and deeply personal worldview. This isn't just about what they know, but what they've lived, what they've experienced, and the indelible marks left by their personal history and the collective experiences of their generation. This profound insight, this understanding of the individual and generational lens, forms the very bedrock of our discussion in this deep dive.
That's a crucial distinction, because it means we're about to unravel the hidden, often invisible forces that truly shape our relationship with money. We're going to demonstrate that financial success, or indeed devastating failure, often has surprisingly little to do with raw intellect or sheer effort alone. Instead, it has a staggering amount to do with behavior. Behavior, as we'll see, is a much trickier beast to master, even for the smartest people in the room. Our goal today is to cut through the noise, bypass the superficial judgments, and give you a fresh, well-informed perspective on the fascinating and often surprising psychology that truly drives our financial lives. So let's dive in and see what makes us tick when it comes to our money. Okay, so when we encounter those monumental financial missteps, the high-profile bankruptcies, the sudden, cataclysmic losses that make headlines, that feeling of how could they be so crazy is incredibly natural. It's a challenge to reconcile the image of someone we perceive as highly intelligent, wildly successful, incredibly astute, with what appears from the outside to be a series of disastrous, irrational financial decisions. Our minds struggle to bridge that gap.
It's a powerful cognitive dissonance, isn't it? Let's revisit the example of Björgolfur Gudmundsson to really illustrate this. Here was a man who commanded immense wealth, a major, recognized player in both European football and the intricate world of Icelandic finance. At his peak, Forbes estimated his net worth at a staggering $1.1 billion. Then, almost in the blink of an eye, after the seismic shock of the 2008 financial crisis reverberated across the globe, his bank, Landsbanki, which was one of Iceland's largest, completely collapsed. He was subsequently declared personally bankrupt. Now, from an outsider's vantage point, especially if you didn't intimately live through that specific economic climate, if you weren't privy to the intricate and highly leveraged nature of Icelandic banking at that precise moment, or perhaps the aggressive expansion strategies that were common in that era, his decisions leading up to that collapse could absolutely look bewildering, even crazy. It feels almost unfathomable that someone so intelligent could fall so far.
Right. It's like looking at a painting from just a foot away versus stepping back to see the whole canvas. You miss the context.
Precisely. Our deep dive suggests it wasn't a matter of insanity or a sudden lapse into irrationality on his part. Instead, it was a profoundly complex confluence of global economic circumstances, the unique, intertwined nature of Iceland's financial system, and his specific decisions, all interacting within that hyper-pressurized environment. His choices, when viewed through his lens, from his perspective, within the context of that specific time and those prevailing assumptions, might have seemed not only entirely rational, but perhaps even the only viable path forward, given the information and pressures he was facing. It's so easy to judge with hindsight, isn't it? But to truly understand, we have to try and consider the unseen forces and internal logic that guided his actions at the time.
And that, I think, is where this concept of a distinct worldview becomes not just important, but absolutely fundamental to understanding financial behavior. It's not just about the raw data you process or the facts you gather. It's about the deep, often subconscious filter through which you interpret everything related to money.
You've hit on it exactly. Every single person's financial worldview is utterly distinct, as unique as their fingerprint. Consider this. Your personal experience with money, your entire life dealing with earnings, savings, investments, debts, economic booms or busts. It constitutes an infinitesimally tiny sliver of the global financial experience, like the collective financial journey of humanity. Think of it this way. Your complete financial history, everything you've ever seen, learned, or endured regarding money, is just one single grain of sand on a vast, endless beach that represents the entirety of global financial history. What you've witnessed, what your family has gone through, the economic climate that shaped your formative years, it's all just one tiny, singular perspective.
Wow. That analogy instantly puts things into incredible perspective, doesn't it? Because these generational experiences are undeniably core drivers of our financial behavior. You can see it so clearly when you compare different eras and the peoples shaped by them.
Absolutely. Take someone who came of age during the Great Depression. Their formative years were defined by pervasive scarcity, widespread joblessness, the terrifying reality of bank runs, and a profound, bone-deep economic insecurity. They likely witnessed firsthand the devastating consequences of debt, the critical importance of extreme frugality, and the inherent fragility of financial institutions. Their approach to saving money would be deeply, almost genetically ingrained, prioritizing cash reserves, hoarding resources, and avoiding debt at almost any cost, even if it meant foregoing opportunities for growth or investment. They saw stability as the ultimate goal,
Right. Safety first, above all else. And that's a stark contrast to someone who might have grown up amidst the roaring stock market of the late 1990s, maybe. Or perhaps the sustained economic growth of the mid-2000s, where consistently rising asset prices and seemingly guaranteed prosperity were the norm.
Precisely. That individual might have a much higher tolerance for risk, viewing debt not as a trap, but as a powerful tool for leverage and growth. They might see stock market dips not as harbingers of doom, but as fleeting golden buying opportunities. Their lived experience instilled a sense of optimism and a belief in continuous upward trajectory. You can see how these two individuals, both intelligent, both rational in their own way, would approach money with fundamentally different and often conflicting sets of assumptions and priorities.
And you can see how this plays out in specific investment choices, too. Say, for something as fundamental as bonds, which many consider a safe asset.
That's a perfect example. If you were born and grew up during a prolonged period of consistently low inflation, where the purchasing power of your money remained relatively stable year after year, you might quite naturally gravitate towards conservative investments like bonds. They offer predictable, fixed returns, and their principal is generally considered relatively safe. They appear to be a logical, low-risk choice for preserving capital. However, someone who lived through, say, a period of hyperinflation, where the value of currency eroded rapidly, perhaps even daily, would view bonds, which are essentially promises of future fixed payments, as incredibly risky. They'd vividly remember how quickly paper money could become worthless. Their preference would likely shift dramatically towards tangible assets, something you can physically hold, something that historically retains value during economic upheaval, like real estate, gold, or even commodities. Their lived, often painful experience dictates a completely different risk assessment, a fundamental distrust of anything that isn't concrete.
It's a powerful reminder of how our personal histories color our perception of risk. And this brings us to one of Morgan Housel's most profound observations, a statement that truly underpins our entire discussion today. Quote, "Doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. And behavior is hard to teach, even to really smart people." As a society, we're so deeply conditioned to equate financial success with high intelligence, with being smart, and conversely to equate financial failure with folly, or lack of smarts or effort. But as you just laid out, it's so much more nuanced than that, isn't it?
It truly is. We have this inherent, almost tribal desire to believe that if someone is smart, they'll undoubtedly succeed with money, and if they're not, they'll inevitably fail. But the real world, the financial world, is far messier and less predictable than that. Think about it. A brilliant, meticulously researched investment strategy developed after countless hours by the brightest minds in quantitative analysis can absolutely fail spectacularly. Due to unforeseen market shifts, sudden regulatory changes, or simply a streak of truly unfortunate timing. Conversely, what might appear to an outsider as a seemingly irrational or even impulsive choice can, almost by sheer luck, sometimes lead to unexpected massive windfalls. This starkly highlights that there's so much more at play than just raw intellect or diligence diligent effort. Financial outcomes are profoundly influenced by our ingrained behaviors, our emotional responses to fear and greed, our susceptibility to herd mentality, and of course our unique, often biased worldviews. None of these factors, crucially, are necessarily correlated with IQ, academic achievement, or even business acumen. Behavior is intrinsically human, a tapestry woven with biases, deeply held beliefs, and predispositions that are incredibly resistant to change, even for someone who can solve the most complex mathematical equations or build a multi-billion-dollar company from scratch. It's the constant battle between the logical brain and the emotional self.
So, if our personal histories and these deeply ingrained behaviors shape our financial actions so profoundly, often in ways we don't even recognize, it raises a really important question for you, the listener, sitting there right now. What then is the most effective approach for you to cultivate a more resilient, perhaps even a less biased, financial perspective? How do you navigate a world where your own past can be both a powerful guide and, perhaps more dangerously, a significant blind spot? We're going to continue to unpack this throughout our deep dive, exploring not only these unseen forces, but also the truly controllable actions that ultimately matter most in building a robust financial life. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. It's incredibly tempting, isn't it, to take full, unequivocal credit for our financial victories. When the investments soar, when the business thrives, when the money rolls in, we instinctively tell ourselves, and often anyone who will listen, that it was all due to our tireless hard work, our unparalleled smart choices, our keen insights, our unparalleled foresight. And when that success arrives, it feels like pure, unadulterated merit.
And while hard work, diligent research, and smart choices are undeniably vital ingredients in any success story, it's also undeniably true that luck plays an immense, though almost entirely immeasurable, role in our financial lives. We simply cannot quantify how much of our success is attributable to sheer good fortune, but we know it's there, lurking in the background. Many of the most significant triumphs, the breakthroughs that launch careers or fortunes, can be traced back to favorable, often serendipitous, events that were entirely outside of our control. Imagine, for instance, a budding entrepreneur who stumbles upon a crucial mentor at a seemingly random industry conference, a chance encounter that provides invaluable guidance and connections. Or perhaps being in precisely the right place at the right time for that early seed funding, or making a crucial connection at a casual networking event that opens doors no skill alone could have forced open.
Yeah, or even something like launching a product just as a new technological trend begins to explode, an unexpected wave of consumer demand you couldn't have predicted.
Exactly. These aren't always meticulously planned outcomes. They're often serendipitous moments, lucky breaks that accelerate growth and amplify effort far beyond what skill and sheer persistence alone could achieve. They act as a tailwind, pushing you forward.
And the other side of that coin is equally important, and perhaps even more painful to acknowledge. Financial failures that are not due to incompetence or lack of effort, but to truly unfortunate circumstances. A sudden, devastating illness that drains savings and prevents work. A catastrophic accident that leaves you unable to continue your career, or a sweeping global economic downturn that upends entire industries. These are events that can derail even the most carefully laid financial plans. Someone might appear to be a financial failure, a bad money manager, but in reality, they are often the unwitting victim of forces entirely, utterly beyond their control. We saw this reality play out in such a stark and painful way during the COVID-19 pandemic, didn't we?
Unquestionably. Think of the millions of small business owners, particularly those in the hospitality sector, restaurants, cafes, event venues, or the retail space, who had poured not just their life savings, but their entire heart and soul into their ventures. They likely possessed excellent business acumen, had strong market strategies, boasted loyal customer bases, and managed their finances prudently. Yet, due to unforeseen government lockdowns, mandated closures that stretched for months, and unprecedented catastrophic supply chain disruptions, their businesses were decimated. Many lost everything. Their struggles were not a reflection of poor management, a lack of financial intelligence, or any personal failing on their part. They were a direct, undeniable consequence of an unforeseen global event that swept away years of diligent effort and prudent planning. It's a sobering reminder of how vulnerable even the most robust plans can be to external shocks.
It truly underlines how little inherent control we have over those random elements of luck and those enormous external risks that can impact our finances so profoundly. It's a humbling, almost disquieting thought, isn't it, to realize how much is simply outside our sphere of influence.
It is indeed. We have minimal, if any, control over those truly unpredictable elements. But this realization, this humble acceptance, then sharpens our focus. It directs our attention, our energy, and our efforts precisely onto what we can control. The wise approach? The resilient approach is to acknowledge these unseen, uncontrollable forces, to understand that they exist and can shape outcomes, and then to channel our energy with laser-like precision into maximizing the things that are squarely within our sphere of influence. This raises an essential question for you, the listener, as you reflect on your own financial journey. Given these powerful, often invisible forces of luck and risk, what specific actions, what aspects of your financial life can you truly focus on and maximize to build genuine, robust financial resilience? Where is your power, really?
Let's talk about capitalism. Modern capitalism, for all its undeniable dynamism and capacity for wealth creation, truly possesses a dual nature. On one hand, it's this incredibly powerful engine for innovation, for job creation, for allowing individuals to accumulate wealth and build a legacy that can literally support generations. It provides pathways to opportunity, to growth, to achieving aspirations previously unimaginable. That's the empowering, almost aspirational side of it.
And then there's the other side of the coin, a shadow that often goes unacknowledged. It subtly, insidiously fosters a pervasive form of envy. This envy, if left unchecked, if allowed to fester and grow, can quietly, almost imperceptibly, transform individuals into perpetual money chasers. They're constantly striving for more, often without defining what enough truly is, and tragically, often at the expense of what genuinely matters most in life. It becomes a relentless drive to outdo, to keep pace with, or to outright surpass their peers or some idealized version of societal success.
And what's particularly deceptive about this pull is that many people, perhaps most, don't even realize they've unconsciously prioritized the pursuit of money over their own happiness, over their well-being. It's a pull so subtle, so ingrained in our societal narrative that it can be incredibly hard to detect until you're deeply entangled. You might genuinely believe with every fiber of your being that you're working tirelessly for your family's security, for a better future, for truly noble goals. But beneath that countless intention, the unspoken, unacknowledged truth might be that you're primarily driven by the desire to earn just a little more than your neighbor, to keep up with what your colleagues have, or to meet or even exceed some externally imposed societal expectation of success. It becomes an exhausting treadmill, a comparison game that has no finish line, rather than a genuine pursuit of personal fulfillment or contentment.
The inherent danger in succumbing to this kind of financial competition, this endless chase, is profound. It's the very real risk of sacrificing the most invaluable, irreplaceable aspects of your life. We're talking about fundamental things that, once lost, are incredibly difficult, if not utterly impossible to regain. Your personal freedom to choose how you spend your days, your precious, non-renewable time. The irreplaceable quality and depth of your family relationships, the trust of your closest friends, and even your hard-won reputation. How many times have we seen individuals who are reputable, seemingly successful beyond reproach, end up in legal trouble for embezzlement or illicit financial activities? While those are extreme, headline-grabbing examples, the more common and equally tragic scenario involves people sacrificing significant time, neglecting their health, and eroding vital relationships for their careers, constantly chasing the next promotion, the next pay raise, telling themselves, just a little more, then I'll be happy, then I'll rest.
And the Enron case study, for me, remains a classic, deeply tragic example of this insidious trap. We're talking about executives who were, by any measure, brilliant, highly educated, and incredibly respected individuals operating at the absolute pinnacle of their careers. Yet, in their relentless, almost insatiable pursuit of ever greater profits, ever higher stock prices, and ever more prestige, they systematically crossed ethical and legal lines, ultimately engaging in massive fraudulent accounting practices. The outcome, as we know, was catastrophic. The company's spectacular collapse, criminal convictions, and lengthy prison sentences for many of the key players, and the utter irreversible destruction of their professional reputations, their personal freedom, and their most vital family relationships. They had ample money, far more than most people could ever dream of, but in their desperate chase for even more, for that elusive pinnacle of financial dominance, they lost absolutely everything else that truly mattered in life. It's a chilling reminder.
It truly is. That's why the core message here is not just important, but absolutely critical for your well-being. Your happiness can never, under any circumstances, be truly quantified by money. Never, ever chase money at the expense of your peace of mind, your relationships, or your joy. The most effective way to avoid this pervasive trap, this endless, unfulfilling comparison game, is to truly internalize, to deeply believe that more money doesn't automatically equate to more happiness. This isn't merely a feel-good platitude. It's a foundational truth borne out by countless studies and countless lives. You need to take the time, the deliberate effort, to identify the things in your life that are genuinely important to you. What brings you genuine joy, what gives your life meaning, what makes you feel truly alive. beyond the metrics of work and money.
And once you've identified those irreplaceable elements, you then consciously, deliberately construct what we call a life system that actively nurtures and prioritizes those very things. This system will look different for everyone because our values are unique. For some, it might mean consciously choosing to work fewer hours, even if it entails a slightly smaller paycheck, because those reclaimed hours are dedicated to precious, irreplaceable family time, to being fully present for your children or your partner. For others, it might mean having the courage, conviction, to refuse a morally questionable business deal, no matter how lucrative, because it could compromise your integrity, jeopardize your personal freedom, or disturb your peace of mind. Your unique system will always reflect your unique values, but the core principle is about creating a deliberate, conscious balance that ensures your life isn't solely defined by that relentless, never-ending chase for more money. It's about building a life that truly serves you, your values, and your well-being, not just your bank account or someone else's expectations.
And as Morgan Housel so aptly and powerfully put it, controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. Think about that for a moment. It's not the flashy car or the sprawling mansion or the latest cutting-edge gadget. It's the profound, liberating ability to dictate how you spend your most precious, finite, and non-renewable resource, your time. That truly is the ultimate luxury, the ultimate return on your investment in a well-lived life.
Okay, so let's talk about the long game. If you approach personal and corporate finance with a long-term mindset, with an eye firmly fixed on the horizon, you significantly, almost exponentially, increase your chances of enduring and truly thriving in what can often be a deeply volatile and unpredictable financial arena. It's a complete philosophical contrast to the investors who are solely focused on those immediate, fleeting short-term gains who, almost without exception, rarely last in the long run. And this isn't necessarily a judgment of their intelligence or their skill, it's simply a recognition of fundamental truth. No one, absolutely no one, can consistently and perfectly predict market fluctuations. The financial landscape shifts with incredible speed, almost by the minute. You might, for a time, genuinely believe you've cracked the code to stock market, feeling supremely confident in predicting its next move, perhaps even boasting about it. But before you know it, sudden, unforeseen shifts, a new regulation, a geopolitical event, a technological disruption can catch you completely off guard, wiping out your short-term gains and often far more.
Tragically, countless investors, blinded by the allure of quick riches, have suffered devastating financial losses, losing everything they built, and in the most extreme and heartbreaking cases, have even taken their own lives because of this volatile, relentless, short-term pursuit. They might experience exhilarating periods of massive, rapid gains, leading to a dangerous overconfidence where they truly believe they've mastered the markets, that they are invincible. But this euphoria is often followed by profound despair, as they then lose everything they made and frequently much, much more than they started with. The cycle of speculative euphoria, followed by crushing despair, is a powerful and destructive one in the financial world.
A classic and truly cautionary tale that profoundly illustrates this is that of Jesse Livermore, the legendary stock trader of the 1920s. Livermore was so exceptionally talented, so intuitively attuned to market movements, that he not only navigated the treacherous 1929 stock market crash, but actually managed to amass millions, even hundreds of millions, while most investors watched their fortunes completely evaporate. His uncanny ability to profit from such a monumental downturn, predicting it when few others could, was truly astounding, earning him the moniker, the Great Bear of Wall Street.
But his incredible, almost mythical success, unfortunately, proved to be a tricky mistress. That monumental win, that vindication of his genius, instilled in Livermore a profound and ultimately fatal belief that he held ultimate mastery over the markets. He truly believed he could bend them to his will, that he possessed an infallible system. Following that incredible win, he continued to trade, and he endured substantial losses, periods where strategies simply didn't work. Yet despite those mounting losses, despite the clear evidence that his system wasn't perfect, he remained relentlessly persistent, clinging to the idea of his own genius, his unique ability to conquer the market. His persistence, tragically, did not pay off. He ultimately lost his entire fortune, everything he had accumulated multiple times over. Overwhelmed by shame, by the crushing weight of his losses, and the profound psychological blow of his perceived failure, he even disappeared from his family for 2 days. Jesse Livermore never truly recovered from that crushing financial and psychological burden. He tragically ended his own life. His story is a stark reminder that even immense talent, even a track record of monumental success, can be overshadowed by the dangerous belief in one's own infallibility and the relentless, short-sighted pursuit of quick, large gains, ignoring the market's inherent unpredictability.
It truly hammers home the point that investing skill can certainly generate money, perhaps even a lot of it. But sustaining wealth, building true, lasting financial security, requires something more than just acumen, more than just raw intelligence. It's a different muscle altogether, a different mindset. Investing is inherently a risky game, certainly offering the potential for high rewards. But if you succumb to the siren song of greed, if you attempt to snatch those large rewards too quickly, if you believe you can outsmart the market consistently, you risk not only losing your capital, but potentially far, far more than just money.
Absolutely. The true masters of this game, the ones who build lasting wealth, who consistently grow their fortunes over decades, understand this fundamental principle deeply. They don't play for the quick hit, the sudden burst of profit. They play for the long haul, with an almost unwavering patience and an eye firmly fixed on the horizon. They choose to compound their gains steadily, patiently, almost imperceptibly, over extended periods, understanding that time is their greatest ally. They resist the temptation of chasing quick, uncertain profits that inevitably lead to spectacular busts and the kind of despair that Jesse Livermore ultimately faced. It's not about being clever, it's about being consistent and patient.
And there's no better, more astonishing example of this than Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha. His wealth, as we all know, is astronomical. What's truly extraordinary, what often gets overlooked in the headlines, is that a staggering majority of that wealth, something like $84.2 billion, his total fortune, accumulated after his 50th birthday. And remember, he started investing when he was just 10 years old. He's been at this for decades upon decades.
That's the secret right there, in plain sight, yet so often misunderstood, the almost magical power of compounding. While he is undoubtedly a profoundly skilled investor, possessing an incredible knack for identifying undervalued companies with strong fundamentals, his acumen alone would not have been sufficient to build such an immense fortune. It's the combination of that extraordinary skill with an almost unparalleled patience, a discipline to simply allow his investments to compound and grow over a vast, extended expanse of time. He didn't chase the next big thing every year to jumping from trend to trend. He identified good companies, invested in them, and then crucially, he let time work its incredible exponential magic. He understood that money, earning money, reinvesting those earnings, and letting that cycle continue for decades becomes an unstoppable, almost unfathomable force. It's why Albert Einstein supposedly called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. Yet it's also one of the hardest concepts for people to intuitively grasp and patiently apply, because our brains are wired for immediate gratification.
So the takeaway for you is clear. When you establish a clear long-term financial goal, whether it's for retirement, for a child's education, or for financial independence, and then you consistently compound your gains at a respectable annual rate, you stand a statistically better chance of building sustainable, resilient wealth than someone solely focused on those immediate, fleeting profits. It's not about being the fastest. It's the endurance mentality that ultimately wins the race. Okay, I want to talk about something really fascinating. In his profound, deeply insightful book, 30 Lessons for Living, author Carl Pillemer embarked on a truly remarkable project. He interviewed 1,000 elderly Americans, individuals who had lived full lives, asking them to distill the most vital lessons they had learned over their lifetimes. The mission was essentially to uncover what truly mattered for a happy, fulfilling life, not just for a moment, but over the long arc of decades.
And what he discovered was nothing short of stunning, almost counterintuitive to our modern sensibilities and the prevailing messages we receive daily. Not a single person he interviewed mentioned happiness in the way that contemporary society often defines it. No one, not one, suggested that the secret to a happy life was to accumulate more money than your next-door neighbor, or to own the biggest house, or to drive the flashiest car. Nobody advised pursuing a high-paying career primarily for the sake of monetary gain or prestige as the ultimate path to contentment. This raises a really important, even unsettling question. If these observations are true, and as we'll discuss, scientific research increasingly supports them, then it seems we as a society might be fundamentally misunderstanding what happiness actually is. We're often firmly convinced that a larger paycheck, a bigger house, or a fancier car will automatically translate into a happier existence. As a result, many people anchor all their hopes for happiness on an increase in their monthly income, and often they live perpetually unhappy lives, constantly waiting for a future that may never fully satisfy.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, if we're just stuck on a relentless hamster wheel, fueled by this pervasive modern obsession with keeping up with the Joneses. You see it everywhere. amplified exponentially by social media. People endlessly scroll through curated images of friends' lavish vacations, expensive cars, designer clothes, perfectly styled homes. This constant exposure, this highlight reel of others' lives, fuels a deep-seated, often subconscious belief that acquiring similar material possessions, living that seemingly perfect lifestyle, is the ultimate key to happiness, the path to fulfillment. We buy into this illusion without even questioning it.
Yet, the scientific counterpoint to the societal narrative is incredibly consistent and robust. Research across psychology and behavioral economics consistently shows that once basic needs are met, once you have adequate food, secure shelter, reliable safety, and a reasonable degree of financial stability, further increases in income have a rapidly diminishing return on happiness. That initial bump of joy you get from a new car, a new gadget, or even a promotion is often short-lived. It's a fleeting dopamine hit, a temporary rush. We experience what's known as hedonic adaptation, where we quickly adjust to our new circumstances, and that novel excitement rapidly fades, leaving us craving the next thing. This leads to a relentless, exhausting cycle of wanting more, always chasing the next acquisition, never quite feeling truly satisfied or fulfilled. It's a pursuit that often leaves people emptier than when they started.
So if it wasn't about the money, what did those wise Americans interviewed by Pillimer say truly contributed to their profound, lasting sense of contentment? What was their real secret?
It was strikingly clear and refreshingly simple. What truly mattered to them was cultivating deep, meaningful relationships with their family, their friends, and their broader community. It was about dedicating quality, undistracted time to their loved ones, being truly present, building bridges, and fostering connections. And crucially, it was about becoming part of something larger than themselves, whether through active community involvement, volunteering for a cause they deeply believed in, or pursuing a profound passion that had a positive impact beyond their individual lives. When you consider that numerous scientific studies across diverse fields like psychology, sociology, and even neuroscience consistently corroborate these findings, these insights aren't just anecdotal wisdom from a few old folks. They represent a fundamental truth about human well-being that we, as a consumer-driven, achievement-focused society, often tragically overlook.
And this leads us directly to the absolute core message of this entire section, a truth that we hope resonates deeply with you. Nothing, absolutely nothing matters more than your happiness. You have to protect it fiercely at all costs.
It's truly a disastrous, often irreversible mistake to tie your happiness to material possessions, especially to things you don't yet possess, or to a future financial benchmark. You tell yourself, I'll finally be happy when I get that promotion, or I'll be content when I can afford that bigger house or that expensive vacation. But you may never acquire them, or if you do, that fleeting satisfaction will quickly vanish due to hedonic adaptation, leaving you chasing the next illusion, the next ephemeral goal. Instead, when you actively prioritize cultivating meaningful relationships, when you dedicate yourself to noble causes, when you connect with something larger than yourself and contribute beyond your own immediate gratification, you discover a profound, lasting, and self-sustaining sense of contentment that no amount of money can truly buy or replace. This isn't just about feeling good, it's about building a life that is truly, deeply rich in ways that transcend any financial statement.
This brings us to a critical distinction, one that truly changes how you look at the world around you, how you interpret what you see in others, and how you define your own financial goals. The fundamental difference between riches and wealth. Turn Jack Ledgers. Riches, you see, are what are outwardly visible. They're the flashy displays, the luxury items, the things you acquire to show off to others to impress.
Right. And wealth, on the other hand, is almost entirely hidden. It's quiet. It's built on assets and savings that aren't immediately apparent to the casual observer. Let's make this concrete. Someone living in a magnificent house worth, let's say, $2 million certainly appears rich. Even if they borrowed heavily to acquire it, they must still be earning a substantial income to manage the mortgage, the property taxes, the upkeep, the utilities. That's riches. It's a visible symbol of apparent affluence, a consumption of capital. But wealth is having that $2 million in cash or having it meticulously invested in growth assets that you haven't yet spent. That's the key difference. It's money that's quietly working for you, not money that's been conspicuously consumed. When people declare they want to be millionaires, they often mean they desire the lifestyle, the spending power, the outward trappings they associate with millionaires. However, if you possess, say, a few $1 million, and you promptly spend it all on your desires, a yacht, a private jet, a lavish lifestyle, constant high-end consumption, you're not a millionaire in the true sense of actually having $1 million in assets. You're just someone who blew through millions. Your net worth can quickly dwindle to zero.
So, true wealth is the money you meticulously save, diligently invest, and patiently allow to grow. It's the collection of assets you own, stocks, bonds, real estate businesses, that continue to compound and generate more for you, silently, often out of public view. It's money working for you, not you working for money.
Exactly. And this is the crucial point that often escapes public perception, perpetuated by media and social norms. What most people see, what they're conditioned to admire, is the overt display of riches, the shiny objects, the perceived glamour. And almost anyone with enough debt, a willingness to live far beyond their means, or a cleverly curated social media feed can project a compelling image of being rich. But here's the quiet, often hidden truth. Many individuals who appear affluent, who drive the fancy cars, wear the designer clothes, and live in the big houses are, beneath that glittering surface, financially struggling. They're living paycheck to paycheck, burdened by crushing debt, all to maintain that outward facade, that image they believe is necessary for status or acceptance. They prioritize appearance over actual financial security.
And this is where the story of Stanley, from Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko's classic and incredibly insightful book, The Millionaire Next Door, becomes so powerful and illustrative. They introduce us to Stanley, a man who by trade was a welder. He lived in a modest home, drove an older, unassuming car, and wore simple, practical clothes. His neighbors, many of whom drove luxury cars and lived in ostentatious McMansions, often assumed he was barely getting by, perhaps even struggling to make ends meet, certainly not a man of means.
But the astonishing truth, revealed upon his death, was that Stanley had accumulated a net worth of over $1 million. He built this remarkable fortune not through a high-flying career or inherited wealth, but through consistent, disciplined saving, smart, long-term investing, and crucially, a deliberate, unwavering avoidance of outward displays of wealth. He didn't impress anyone with his spending habits because he wasn't spending. He was investing, allowing his money to compound, and diligently building true, resilient financial security in quiet, unnoticed silence. His wealth was hidden, his riches were minimal, and that's precisely what allowed him to become a true millionaire, a financially free individual, unburdened by debt or the need to impress.
So when it truly comes down to building lasting, meaningful wealth, you have absolutely no one to impress. No one. Don't fall into the insidious trap of buying things you don't need or things you can't truly afford simply to show off to people who, frankly, don't genuinely care about your financial well-being in the first place. This advice might sound like simple common sense, something everyone already knows, yet people disregard it every single day, often to their immense long-term financial detriment and a lifetime of stress.
It's a powerful psychological trap because the primary reason people acquire fancy, often unnecessary possessions is the belief, however misguided, that it will garner them respect, admiration, or a higher social standing from others. But here's the harsh reality, and it's a powerful one to internalize. It rarely works that way. When people observe you driving a luxurious car down the street, their immediate thoughts are almost never truly about you gaining respect. They might acknowledge that you appear rich, yes, but that observation rarely translates into genuine respect for you as an individual. More often, the opposite occurs. They use your expensive car as a yardstick, an external benchmark to measure their own success. It often fuels their desire to achieve more for themselves, to work harder, to acquire something similar. In essence, they're not thinking about respecting you, they're wishing they could be in your position or plotting how to get there themselves. So it simply doesn't make any logical sense to financially strain yourself, to put yourself under immense pressure, to go into debt, all to impress others. Instead, focus your energy, your discipline, and your precious capital on diligently building lasting wealth. The hidden kind, the quiet kind, rather than showcasing fleeting riches you can't truly afford or that serve no real purpose other than a superficial and ultimately unfulfilling impression.
Okay, so wrapping things up. This deep dive has truly explored why, in the often perplexing, sometimes frustrating world of money, no one is truly crazy. We've peeled back the layers to see that we are all profoundly influenced by our unique experiences, the indelible marks left by our generational histories, and the specific markets and circumstances we operate within. It's a complex, intricate tapestry of human behavior and external forces, not a simple equation of smarts versus folly.
Exactly. We've touched on the crucial importance of understanding the psychological forces constantly at play in our financial decisions, the undeniable, if often invisible, role of luck and fate in shaping our outcomes, and the profound, insidious danger of the endless, unfulfilling pursuit of more. We've also unpacked the immense, almost magical power of the long game, demonstrating how patience and the miracle of compounding can build incredible, lasting wealth. And finally, we've highlighted the vital distinction between fleeting, superficial riches and true, hidden wealth. The overarching theme, the big picture that we hope you carry with you, is that uncertainty is inherent in life, and especially in finance. We make our best efforts, we plan meticulously, we project our futures, but we must remain flexible, adapt our plans when things inevitably don't unfold as envisioned, and absolutely critically avoid clinging to failing strategies simply due to sunk cost. The world changes, and so must we.
And when you find yourself navigating these financial complexities, when you're facing uncertainty about a particular financial move or a significant decision, remember the immense value of seeking guidance. You absolutely do not have to navigate this alone.
Absolutely. This guidance could come from a trusted friend or family member who has more experience and a perspective different from your own. It could be a professional financial advisor who can offer objective insights tailored to your situation. Or it could be the collective wisdom found within an investment club where you can learn from diverse viewpoints and share experiences. The specific source doesn't matter as much as their sufficient experience, their unbiased perspective, and their ability to offer sound guidance that expands your own naturally limited worldview.
And this brings us to what we truly believe is the most important takeaway from this entire deep dive, a message that applies to every facet of your life, not just your finances. Protect your happiness at all costs.
Yeah.
Seriously. Stay away from shady deals that promise quick riches but compromise your integrity, your freedom, or your peace of mind. Resist the endless, exhausting chase for more money, which so often leads to sacrificing precious relationships, your health, and your inner peace. And consistently, deliberately, create time for the truly important things in your life. The people you love, the passions that fuel you, the causes that give you purpose.
Because what's the ultimate purpose of meticulously accumulating wealth, of building a significant fortune, if you can't genuinely enjoy it? What's the point if you can't share it with those you love or use it to pursue the passions and causes that truly give your life profound meaning? Wealth should be a tool that serves your happiness, your freedom, and your fulfillment, not the other way around. Don't let the pursuit of money become an end in itself.
So as you go about your week, we want to leave you with a provocative thought, something to mull over that ties directly into the highest dividend money can pay. If controlling your time is truly the highest dividend money pays, what concrete, perhaps small step could you take this week to reclaim a piece of your time, and what meaningful activity would you intentionally fill it with, even if it doesn't involve spending a single cent?
And as a practical next step to deepen your own financial perspective, try this. Join an investment club, either online or search for one in your local area that meets regularly. While many might require a small, regular fee, they are almost always a worthwhile investment for the collective wisdom, the diverse perspectives, the support, and the genuine sense of community they provide. It's an excellent way to learn from others, to challenge your own assumptions, and to truly expand your financial worldview, enriching your ongoing deep dive into the fascinating world of money.